All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. It's a Spork of Ice and Fire, where we talk mostly A Song of Ice and Fire, but we will also be talking at times other fantasy shows and books. And like we were just talking Harry Potter backstage, and when that series comes up, we will be definitely talking about it week to week here. But tonight, long awaited, definitely for my panelists right here who's been waiting for this. We're going to start the Fire and Blood chapter by chapter and get past the dance so that when House of the Dragon comes up, if you want to have some book knowledge, you'll have it. And that's why we're here. But we're going to start with the beginning, Aegon's conquest, and go into who I believe is the savior of the Targaryen dynasty, Maegor the Magnificent, I will call him, even though they all call him Cruel. How you doing, Miss Martin Muses?
I'm doing great. I'm like, he is the Cruel. He's terrible, but that's what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doggy sitting this week. I'm puppy sitting, so I just have the cutest little puppy I'm babysitting, so it's great.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. Stig is sleeping tonight. Walton, he's getting back on his own schedule, being over there in the Norwegian area. And I appreciate anytime he comes on, but I know that that poor man needs to like see the sun. And I don't know, does he live where they're like, months where the sun's not out? Like I know some.
Yes.
Is he that far up?
Not quite. I mean, he'll get a little bit during the day and then it's like 24 daylight too.
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine. Like the daylight one, I think would mess with me more than all like dark. Because like dark, you can like have festivals and stuff,
Exactly. I will tell you this, that the 24-hour daylight, that's what got me. I couldn't sleep. I was like wired. It was like someone just pumped a bunch of adrenaline in me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, does northern Scotland and Ireland get that too, or are they too far south? Because I'm trying to look at like the map in my head, and it almost seems like they're on the same level as Norway, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's further south than Norway, but
okay.
I lived in Cork, Ireland, and it would get dark in the summer. It'd get dark at about 11 at night and get light at 4, and it would get dark in the winter at about 4 o'clock. Because I remember coming back from piano lessons on my bike in the dark because school would get out at 2, and then it's crazy. So
yeah, I always wonder that, but we're here for a certain topic. And I know that I know we are like, I've been dying to do this. And last week we were supposed to start, but no one was ready other than Teresa here. So I was like, all right, let's put it off a week. And I realized even myself, I was like, I can't wait to talk about this. So I actually today was listening, which is the Audible version is audible or whatever. It's fantastic. I love the guy's voice. And you really like can take the time and listen to what, you can go back 30 seconds and listen to what he said. And there's some things that I picked up that maybe I haven't before, like Maegor being the savior of the realm and the greatest champion the world has ever seen. Yeah, I'm putting him up there. I am a Maegor fan, and most people probably will be like, what the hell are you talking about? But we'll get there. So the source material itself, I have 2 different copies here for people to look at. I'm just going to blow this up for a second so people can look. All right. So this is like and if my microphone guys suck today, it's held together right now with elastic bands because my kid broke it with her friend and I didn't get too mad, which is impressive.
Yay.
But this is the hardcover book that most people got. It's a Martin book. It's only like, not even like what, 100, maybe 100 years, 150, about 140, 150 years. And then it kind of, so like there's so much
700
more
pages of history.
Just and it's history. There are parts a con against it. Like a lot of people don't like reading it. I love historical stuff, so even like a textbook to me is fun to read. And I still think that reads better than a textbook. A lot of people call it a textbook. I don't think so. What do you think?
Oh, well, I just love it. But full disclosure, I have a BA in history. So I love reading that stuff in like Latin. Okay. I mean, I love history in big tomes. And as I was rereading, getting ready and going over my notes for today, it really struck me. I enjoy Fire and Blood more than I've enjoyed A Song of Ice and Fire so far.
Yeah, I've heard other people, not many, but other people say that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because it's more of a straightforward, he's not hiding anything, he's not playing games. It's just this is what happened. At
Mm-hmm.
least the recounting of what we believe happened. And we won't go into how the show's supposed to be like the truth because I won't
Yeah.
believe that. Sorry.
Nope.
And we like House of the Dragon here, but it is nothing compared to the actual work of George R. R. Martin. I'm sorry, I can't.
Nope.
Kristen Cole, like I can't stand him in the book, but like he is just a whiner and like a you don't sleep with me, so I'm gonna go to the other team, type of guy. And I don't
Yeah,
like
I
that.
wanted him to die in the show.
Oh my god, maybe let's do
He
that.
deserves
But
to die. He deserves
yeah,
to die painfully.
now now this was on sale for a while. I don't know if it still is, and Tina Martin actually has it. This right here is the Rise of the Dragon, and it is just Fire and Blood, but with, I mean, amazing artwork, like World of Ice and Fire. Really cool sketches and stuff. The Black Dread right there. You have the that's the Martell princess that what's her name in the book? They give her a name. It's
Oh,
something funny actually.
the
Um,
yellow old lady or whatever.
Yeah,
That's what
yellow
he's saying about
toad.
it.
The yellow
Yes,
toad. That's what they
Toad.
call her. That's right. Yeah, so like it's a really beautiful book. The Dragon's Wars, like you have just all these really cool chapters in here. So if I were you and I was going to buy one of these, I would buy this one. And at the time, I think I got this for like $50. So that's pretty cheap. And if you can go to like one of those resale type of bookstores, you'll probably get it cheaper. But
Well, I was about ready to say, get ready to get jealous. After you showed that last week, I decided to go to the local discounted bookstore.
uh
And there it was in all its glory. I got it for like $20.
yeah.
And it is
20
brand
bucks.
new and
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
So
Good
if
for
you
you though.
go look, everybody,
Yeah.
you might find it. It is gorgeous. So I've written all over my first hardcover now, and then this is the one that's going to be pristine.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love that you just said that right over it. What do you say? Audio F or the what's
FTW.
FTW? I don't know what that means.
Everybody Google. I always
I always screw that stuff up too. I am definitely, when I'm a Gen Xer when it comes to that stuff, I have no clue.
yeah.
But I love you, Alex. And if it is bad, like the sound, I apologize. Like I'll try to show you guys. Like I have a weight on one side, elastic. You see the elastic thing? Do. That's your kid for you. The best part, before we get into it, I have to say, the best part with her was her and her little friend were asking if they could play with my soundboard so they can like, hear that stuff and talk to
Oh,
each other because there's like two audio outlets. And like within minutes they were upstairs and I'm like, why are they not playing? That's weird. And my daughter walks by, she's like, yeah, we decided not to play with it because we didn't want to break any of your things, and just walks away. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I go downstairs and it's just laying with a broken piece, and I went back upstairs. I'm like, I'm giving you one chance to tell your dad the truth. And when she started to speak, I said, stop, really hear what I'm saying. I'm giving you one chance to tell the truth. And she told me, and I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. Accidents happen, but please, when it comes to daddy stuff, I shouldn't have even let you guys play with me down there. But it was
yeah,
funny. It was funny. But yeah, kids, right? Slytherin.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least you don't do to your kids what some of these characters in Fire and Blood have do.
Ooh,
Disturbing.
it is. It is messed up. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So the book, one beautiful thing, and I didn't say hello to the chat. So we got Alex in the house. We got Shane in the house. We already talked to Lodonish Dragonstorm, which is creeping towards 10K. That is Stephen Walton. Check him out. If you have a crazy ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, check out his channel because he'll explain to you why they're nuts. Alex, because he was one of them. Alex Moore, Fook Norris is in the house. We also have some guy trying to sell us channel stuff. Thank you, Mr. Pleasant D Cat. There he is, Mr. Grant Gregory at the doctor's. With my little one, can't make it. Oh, I hope she feels better. Ginger, there can only be one. Wait, I'm thinking about something different. Yeah, that's something different. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Sonny Frank, one of my OG Song of Ice and Fire friends. So I'm glad every time I see you. Zax is in the house. Zax, so you can join us if you like. I know you sometimes can't on every day on my channel.
We got Shane in the house.
Oh yeah, Shane Nolan is up here. Yeah, 12-year-old boy with a 26-year-old girl. Was that the age difference? I thought they were 10 years if you're talking Megor. Yeah, there's some freaky deaky stuff they do in this, you know.
The Black
don't call
Brides.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it right now. So the book starts, and what I love, maybe you want to speak on this too, because I find it really cool writing style, how right off the rip, Martin's telling you that this is written by a historian and Archmaester Gildane, and that it's transcribed by George R.R. Martin, which I find funny as hell. I love, I've had people say they don't like that. I think it's a brilliant, really interesting way to write. What do you think about it?
Oh, no, I think it's great, as I told you, because that's the way real history is. It's written by many different people. So the way that, is it meta? Is that the right word? What he's doing?
Yeah, meta. I would say meta.
It makes it feel more real, and and always puts it in the back of your head. This may not quite be the full story. Like sometimes he'll take an event and give several different accounts. Even today, it's like, well, so and so said this is what happened, and then but legend says this, and that makes it fun.
Yeah. It just makes it an enjoyable thing to read. Why do I have myself just up here? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's all right. You were showing off the book.
I totally forgot. It is a really, I don't know about you, but I find it just such a fun way to read it, because you're right. It's like history. When we get to the dance portion, it's either this other Archmaester he's talking about or Mushroom, the Fool. And I always found that to be really cool.
Yeah, he had all the dirty stuff.
Yeah.
Mushroom did. Well, and what I like is he's made it very clear that he has loosely based as a template the things that happened in the Middle Ages, some of the structures and some of the events, especially the War of the Roses, and the way you have the religion of the Seven with the the poor ones, that reminded me of like the Franciscans versus the Dominicans, what you would find, or so it's really fun the way, for me, it's like he took the history that I study and put it into a fantasy world and added dragons. And that's what made the TV show so great. I knew right away. It's like, this is the War of the freaking Roses.
Yeah.
And I'm what reading Fire and Blood has done for me, it almost has made me forget not just the disaster that was the TV show after season 4, but also if he never finishes A Song of Ice and Fire, I think I'll be okay with that. I never got to that point, but rereading this, I'm like, I've got some darn good stories here. Screw the rest of what happens. Maybe he could just end with a line saying, and that's where the record ends. We don't know what happened. Goodbye. And I'd be like, fine.
No,
it doesn't mean I like him. That doesn't mean I think that's okay, but I am enjoying it.
I can agree with you on that. I still want at least The Winds of Winter or the next Duncan Egg novella, but I understand where you're coming from. Like, there's enough. I think he's finished where even if he passed away, easily the second portion of the second volume will come out. I mean, he's done more than enough for that. He's talked about it before. But before we go on, LDG, hashtag free the net, really, really good human being, dude. Always supports my channel. Thank you so much. 5 new sponsors, 5 new people to join the Sporkers.
Yay.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Guys, please check out his channel, and I put it in there. So please check out his channel and subscribe. Got a couple videos out there like break free and become algorithm proof. So stuff like that will help you probably better yourself on I should probably take his advice actually, but check it out. Very good channel. And I thank you for, giving to the channel. And we also got Riff Magos, one of the old, I mean, literally
Yay.
like when we had 5 subs each, when we were Fourth Wave streaming, we were trying to create this thing. Riff was one of our first. So I love Riff. And Riff says for Australian 5, maybe? I don't know where you're from. Sorry, dude. I just wanted to show my support to the leader of the Sporkarian dynasty. Wow, that kind of could be like a weird sounding name, like kind of like, I forget it. Third Reichish.
Sporkarian. I like that.
Yes, I know. I might have to use that now. Sporkarian dynasty. What Skull? Isn't that like?
Yeah, I'm glad Steeg's asleep because I always feel so self-conscious when with that word, because he says we always say it wrong. It's like, I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
We can't do those vowels,
Oh.
especially we're just not born with that weird language. But yes,
right.
Skull.
I'll
say it. I'm
skull.
saying it, and I mean
it. I like it. So thank you, everybody, and share the link. Smash that like button. We got about 14 to 15 people watching right now, and that's how I like these streams, because we can actually look at the chat and see what they're saying. So hail to you, Riff. Thank you, LDG. I made you a mod too, so thank you, because I appreciate what you do for the channel, man. And if I have to get rid of one, Zach's always one I can get rid of, so don't worry about it. Oh, he's here.
my god!
I mean, not Zach.
I'm Team Zach's.
Yeah, he's too nice of a guy.
I'm on your side, man.
All right, let's do this. All right, so we start off with Gildane. Now, I may just read that little opening section, because for people to understand it a little bit better. I love how, even like how he writes it, like in his own script. And it'll be, let's see, you got Fire and Blood, Raining, is it Raining? Yeah, Raining, no, Being a History. Okay, sorry, it's weird with the way he writes. I just said it was really cool, but I couldn't tell if that was an R or B. Fire and Blood, Being a History of the Targaryen Kings of Westeros, Volume 1, from Aegon I, the Conqueror, to the reign of Aegon III, the Dragonbane, by Archmaester Gildane of the Citadel of Old Town, here transcribed by George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Just such a good way to start it off. I don't know. For me, I love that.
It's fun. And the way it's written with the old-fashioned script, it looks like it was written with a quill.
Yeah. Yeah, and that dude just looks angry. He just looks like an old angry guy. He doesn't even really have like the normal chain of a maester, unless that's the way chains were supposed to be, and the show screwed it up. Like when they say chain, I always think of like the one link. But if you really look closer to how he has it drawn here, the guy has multiple chains. So like if you're, Valerian would be Valerian steel. And it would be a full chain. In the show they made it links.
Yeah, I can understand why they did that, especially for Julian Glover. He's not a young man anymore. And it's like, please don't strangle Julian Glover. We love him. By the way, he's amazing.
Brilliantly.
Yeah, I got to spend some time working a little bit with him, and he's one of the most amazing men I've ever met. Actor wise, he's amazing. And
that's awesome.
Forever. Yeah.
That is awesome. That you got something that a lot of people won't be able to say. Like he's
an amazing actor. I'll tell you the story sometime off screen because of all of that. Because he really inspired me. But I digress.
Yeah,
amazing man.
Yeah. All right, we will. So chapter 1 is a summary of Aegon's conquest, and you find out that for about 100 years after the doom of Valyria, so like 10 to 12 years before the doom happens, Daenerys Targaryen, or Dany the Dreamer, has a vision or dream of the doom of Valyria. Dream that all the dragons die and all this. So her father, just believing in her powers, because many Valyrians dragon dreamers had the ability to have foresight. They sell all their freehold holdings, and they weren't one of the top tier families of Valeria. They were kind of that mid-level, well known enough, but not big enough to be considered one of the shakers and movers in Valeria. So everyone just thought he gave up and he was nuts. But he went to Dragonstone, and following him was Driftmark. So you have the Valerians, and then you have the other family. I always forget their name. Krakens or crap.
I don't have a. I don't have all the names.
I had it
there are like
down
300 million names of these people here.
Yeah, it's the Crackles, I want to say it is, but they are like another seafaring family from Valeria. So you have Driftmark, so the Valerians, and Crackle Island, I want to say it is, and I'm probably saying it wrong. So I'll just find it right now because we can take our time because we're only doing a couple chapters anyways. You could speak while I'm just browsing.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, because what we have here is, this is before the start of the book when all this goes down, and there was like Daenerys the Dream, the maiden daughter. Well, see, that's the other thing, the whole virgin thing going on, and that she's the one, she foresaw the destruction, and the Targaryens were the only of the Dragon Lords to survive. And before the fall of Valeria, what's this? It was, they say, it was the greatest city in the known world. And Dragonstone had been the westernmost outpost of Valyrian power for 2 centuries. And you see, and it was the Valyrian ships, along with those of another Valyrian house, the Celtigars of Claw Isle.
I just found it too. Perfect. Yeah.
And they dominated the sea, and the Targaryens ruled the sky.
Yeah.
This to me connects so much also with what we see in House of the Dragon. You have the sea and the sky, and that's why. Not to go ahead, but during the thing that it was on paper, they had the advantage there.
Right.
And then we have like the Century of Blood.
No.
Go ahead.
Thank you for saying that. The Century of Blood. That's an interesting time, which is kind of compressed into here. But if we throw out any dates so people know, like there is BC, everything starts with, and it's even discussed how it may be off a year or two, but Aegon's conquest. So there's BC before the conquest and AC after conquest. So if we're like, they left Valeria 114 BC. So this was before the conquest. Sorry to interrupt you. You go on.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, please. I just keep mumbling to myself.
I was talking because you were busy. So I take it over.
I know, but you're doing so good.
Okay. Well, in any case, yeah. So we have the Century of Blood after the doom of Valeria. And I mean, there's all these different people. And there was Gaemon Targaryen, brother and husband to Daenerys the Dreamer, followed Aenar the Exile as Lord of Dragonstone, became known as Gaemon the Glorious. And his son, Aegon, and his daughter, Aelena, ruled together after his death. And after them, it passed to Magon, his brother Aerys, Alex, Balin, and Damian, and the 3 brothers, Damian, whose son Aerion, then succeeded to Dragonstone. The Aegon who would be known to history as Aegon the Conqueror and Aegon the Dragon was born 27 BC, and he was the only son and second child of Aerion, Lord of Dragonstone, and Lady Valena of House Valerian, half Targaryen. So
on her
there we go. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and of course he had 2 sisters.
Sisters.
Rhaenys and Visenya.
Yeah, we'll call them sisters. And I like how the sisters are completely different. You have Visenya, the older sister, who is like, just by the time she passes away, people think she's like the darkest witch, and like this just mastermind of just evil plots. But truthfully, she's just a strong warrior type female that he was bound to marry because they were the 2 eldest. But in fact, he was in love with his younger sister Rhaenys, and it was not it was uncommon. It wasn't out of the ordinary, but it was uncommon to marry 2 wives. Nothing wrong with marrying your sister, but 2 sisters, they were a little shocked by that, but it isn't, he didn't break precedent doing that.
No, it was incest and polygamy. He hit 2 of the things that would be an issue with the major religion later.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big, thing you realize by reading this. You're reading Aegon was great. I mean, in many ways, he was really like the perfect first king. Like he was like kind of like a George Washington. He had his, that's a black blemish on your history. But if it wasn't for how he went about and carried himself, you may have seen even worse atrocities from Targaryens down the line. But the saner Targaryens tried to live up to what became his legend. So in a way, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because he does give people chances.
Yeah. Now, this is where I get a little bit confused about the timeline. That was his motivation for doing that. They said in the House of the Dragon was because he had a dream, but yeah,
that's nowhere other than that goddamn show, which I like, but they should never try to tie in that knife.
Yeah, that was the part where I was just like, dude.
Yeah.
And then we've talked about this before about there's about 4 mistakes, I guess, that they made in House of the Dragon. That was one of them. But instead, I thought he was just pretty badass, just the way that he just came in and said, by the way, from here on out, there's going to be one king. That's it. And y'all are just going to have to deal with that. And one by one, took him out with his wives. Though I love the way it was worded about how he felt about his sister wives. The Visenya was out of duty, Rhaenys out of desire. Which
it's not love.
And then we have their dragons. They had shown themselves to be dragon lords. They have 5 dragon of the 5 dragons, only 1 survived to Aegon's day. The great beast called Balerion, the Black Dread.
Dude, I knew for a fact that he breathed black fire, which I always found to be really cool because Balerion, the Black Dread, was the incarnation of Black Fire, the sword. You know what I mean? Like he literally blew black fire with, but I didn't realize there was like crimson red like flares through it. That must be awesome. Like they're supposed to do Aegon's Conquest. I want to see that.
I want to see that so bad. And then, and then too, that we know Vhagar and Meraxes were younger and they were hatched on Dragonstone itself. Yeah.
Yep.
Gosh, can you imagine? You know how big like Vhagar is. Can you imagine the Black Dread? Oh, I mean, it's like a whale shark versus a tiger shark.
Right. I mean, he is a big boy. He's a big boy. Vhagar is the biggest at the time of the dance, but I believe Black Dread was even bigger. I mean, when you see pictures of Aegon riding it in A World of Ice and Fire, he's like this big. Yeah. He's like so like tiny on the thing, He's like Walton. I mean, he's little. What up, free folk? How you doing? Oh, he's working.
Oh, by the way, justice for Mason. I vindicated him. He was right, and we. Well, I didn't know I was wrong because I didn't know, but Scott and Steeg were wrong. So there.
We were wrong.
But yeah, Mason was right. It was about the fact that Martin has confirmed that Shireen will burn in 2020. That was something that he said. I got the source. That was the other thing I got. I went straight to half price books, and I got the Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon. There's a lot of meat in that, by the way.
Really?
And Martin, he doesn't pull any punches in that thing. Like he talks about things he did not like. Another topic for another day. But one of the things.
Cover it?
Oh hell yes, we should. But yeah, especially things with like Littlefinger, and all that things in the show. But he did say that was something he said. But as always, he confirmed that's not how it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. So yeah,
he was right. Justice for Mason. He was right. He was right. Yeah. He did say it. Though I can understand why everyone was skeptical, because no one believes a word that Benioff and wife says. So that's
Okay,
all
I'm
there is to
sorry.
it. Because
Just
they're
I did not
sure.
say I blew up. Why? What is
No,
wrong
that
with you, Zach?
yes. So yeah, so justice for Mason, but it's just so good the way it all goes together. And to go back to to the book, when that's where they made that painted table, the one that we saw in House of the Dragon. I love that we saw it in the way it
Yeah.
worked. So this big table of all of it, um, of wood carved and
Hmm.
decorated lords command a massive slab of wood 50 feet long, carved in the shape of Westeros and painted to show all the woods and rivers and towns and castles of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah. And what's cool is like it literally is made so you can light it from underneath.
Mhm,
Um, they kind of show that on this show better than the first show.
mhm,
But here, let me share this and see if we can see it a little bit better.
yeah.
Uh, So you got, oh, maybe if I wrote painted, right? That would have been good. But yeah,
And
it's gorgeous.
yeah, and to go back to what what we were saying about the Black Dread, the fact that they very quickly, between him and his sister's wives with the other dragons, everyone just surrendered. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see why. You're just not gonna play. And it also tells you a little bit about the Dorns, the fact that they were like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't care. We're still
The
gonna
Dornish,
fight."
the Dornish were impressive because they did like they were like the guerrilla warfare type,
Mhm,
and I think he's talked about that before. Like they were the Vietnam War of Westeros. Like they're the
mhm,
ones you can't they did those guerrilla tactics, and it was pretty brilliant how they worked
mhm,
it. But so yeah, Aegon and his sister wives, he becomes Lord of Dragonstone, and then he was born in 27 BC, married his sisters. Um, they all had that Valerian look to them. The purple eyes, the white gold hair, um, and they did not follow the faith of the seventh, but they knew they had to show respect for it.
mhm,
And that's something that comes within the first few kings is a huge, and many kings after that. I truly believe we see from after his death, like the start of the faith and maybe the maesters, but definitely the faith wanting to get rid of dragons.
mhm,
So when we get to the dance, remember that, because when we get to the dance of the dragon, who's really pulling the strings here? Who really are the people that would love to see dragon versus dragon? It might be a terrible time when it happens, but if there's less dragons afterwards, and you see that with the storming of the dragon pit and stuff later on, like them and the maesters, the faith of the maesters, definitely there's a conspiracy there, and it's been going on for 3 centuries.
mhm.
Yep.
Which made some of what was clear in the show, I don't remember if they confirmed it, that I was wondering why Jonathan Price, it was all no incest, and I'm like, "Dudes, what they've been doing incest forever, what's the story?"
Right.
And, it's clarified here, it's like they were always fighting against it.
Yes.
It and but I also think that it was very clever of Aegon to not just prac do some of the practices of the faith, but he even made it like the official faith. It reminds me a little bit of maybe some Constantine, what he did in back in 325. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're going to make this the official one, though he maybe had more of a conversion. So he would go and do the little sacrifices and some of the religious stuff, but they they wanted that polygamy and they wanted their sister wives and some of the magic that was going on. That's the one part of this story I think that I would love to maybe delve into maybe later, because it's told by a Meister. I feel like we're missing out on some of the magic.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm,
100%. Because also, and they don't touch on it, but the reason why they do maybe once, but
mhm,
and it's just like a really quick sentence. They want to marry Dragon Rider with Dragon Rider. or at least have one of them a dragon rider. That's why they keep it in the family, and maybe with Valerians or, Baratheons, because they already have their, he's half Targaryen, but there is a science and a magic to it. Like the DNA of the Targaryens being watered down is something I think they were trying to do by telling them they can't marry sister to brother, uncle to cousin, uncle to niece, stuff like that. Because it is, I mean, you look at it on the face, yeah, that's gross. That's why, yeah, they should be against it. But I think they were against it because they realized by watering it down, either they will not be able to commune with the dragons telepathically like they do, without like knowledge of it. They don't actually talk to them, but there's a telepathic connection of some sort. Or, they would just, the dragons themselves wouldn't hatch anymore for a watered down Targaryen line. I've always wondered that.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect to it. But of course, as we all know from science, there's also an issue when you have that kind of inbreeding.
But not if you're magical.
That's true. Not if you're magical. Right? I get magic.
They were doing it for like 100 years, over 100 years. I mean, if you think about it, like we don't know what they were doing in Valeria because there was other dragon riding families.
But
once the doom happened, that's 114 years ago. And it takes a lot longer before you start hearing about like stillborn babies that had like scales and wings and stuff. But like none of them are born special. They're either born completely normal or some are a little mad, but there's never anything, like a special need. I don't know what we're supposed to say nowadays. Person.
Unless when you got someone like Emma, remember how many of her children were stillborn? Maybe that was part of it too. Right. Maybe the miscarriages.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. But the other part that made me geek out was the building of Harrenhal, Harren the Black of House Whore.
House Whore. I love it.
The building of Harrenhal and just how huge it was. And no king in Westeros was more feared than Black Harren, whose cruelty had become legendary.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. Real quick, Zombie Box Reviews. No, don't worry, dude. I have wondered where you were, but I'm glad to see you're here. And if it helps you mentally make fun of me, look what it has done for Walton. I mean, he's nuts and making fun of me. And Zax, he pretends to be normal, but he's a jerk. So feel free, attack. I love it. The gods toss a coin. Exactly. So we're going to get to that right away. So Aegon has the painted table, correct? And then he gets his own like Westeros style banner, so he's starting. A lot of people in the realm think, oh, look, he's going to probably want to start trade and this and that. Oh no. In 2 or 1 BC, Aegon sent word to all the petty kings. Those who bent the knee would survive, but he would destroy those who didn't. With his sisters, his Westerosi allies like Oris Baratheon, and his swords of virtue, or virtually indestructible Valyrian steel, Aegon will overwhelm them. So pretty much there were a couple battles before he sent out all the ravens. And that I forgot when I was reading it. There was the one against House Whore.
I know. Right? I giggle. We're a bunch of middle school kids here.
I know, we're so duty. No, but House Whore. That was a battle before he sent out letters, which I found interesting. And then one against the king, the Storm King Dondarrion, at Storm's End. And so what we see is Aegon goes to Harrenhal, where Harren built this massive, impregnable castle. And it was definitely impregnable to the 8,000 guys on the ground. And he made sure to say that. Harren throws that out like, these walls are impregnable and no one could break through these walls. And Aegon just responds, dragons can fly. and I give you to sundown or your line will end. Like that is that is one of the most badass things. And you know what kills me too is that this is what pisses me off when I read this stuff. I go back to that damn show and I realize like the stupid like Dany's evil because she has dragons and are actually using them. Like they've known for 10 goddamn years of this, the show that she's had dragons. And then all of a sudden she uses them once and everyone's like, she's gone mad. She's gone mad.
Oh, yes.
They even saw what Aegon did. The things he did with his dragons melting people. People running around at Harrenhal on fire. And he just landed down and just circled with Balerion, burning everything that wasn't stone. And also firing so much that the stone itself twisted. I think they say burned like the towers burned like 5 candles, and just like 5 candles, they warped and melted away, and it was just really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the hellfire from above. What can you say? I would have surrendered. I would have been well, you know what? I would have become a silent sister immediately. I said, "Screw y'all.
Yeah, I'm
goodbye."
I'm out. I'm out. I'd bend a knee in a heartbeat. I'd be like, going back to that comment up there, I'd be like, what do you need me to do, sir? Whatever. Just please don't kill me. I will totally do whatever you ask. Biggles a member for 1 whole year. We don't have a lot of them, so feel free to become a member today, everybody. 1 year with you, I must be doing something wrong.
Oh no.
It's not a good commercial for my memberships, which you get nothing for except for my gratitude. No, you're right, Biggles. Just keep paying the money and I'll show you respect. Also, Biggles and I start our show on Thursday night, our anime show that still doesn't have a name. I was thinking the Biggles and the Spork, but I don't know. We got to think of something. But yeah, we start that on Thursday night, guys. I think 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So please check it out. But yeah, the Harrenhal one it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'll read a little bit of like one of the summaries I had. Aegon burned his opponent, Lord Harrenhal the Black, alive and melted the stone of Harrenhal Castle at Harrenhal. That's all they put in like a summary thing. He literally wiped out a man's line. His line was gone. And
nothing
all
left.
He did, nothing left. All the Heron, the Black, and all the whores are dead. And he just turns, and that's what I always found funny too. It's like he just turns to Riverrun because he was one of the first ones to come over to his side and is like, yeah, now you're in charge.
Yeah. The Tullys.
The Tullys. That's how they became, the Lords of the Trident, or whatever the actual term is.
Lord Paramount of the Trident.
That's it. I'm glad to have you. Thank you. Yeah, Lord Paramount. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a really cool moment that I can't wait for them to show. You talked about the standard when the first time that he unfurls the standard of the 3-headed dragon breathing on a black field, and then puts in his Queen Visenya crowned him on the crown stuff with rubies. That's the man that came and said, your line's gonna end by sundown.
Right. Done. And then his sister, right? Because it was it Visenya or was it it was Visenya who went and dealt. No, that was Oris Baratheon and Visenya went and dealt with the Storm King, I believe. That was badass too, but go on, please.
Yeah, we love her. Well, I mean, when I say love her, I mean, they all have issues, but she got business done. Visenya did.
Yep. And it's interesting. Like he then sent out to everybody letters and said, listen, either you bend the knee or I will destroy you, pretty much. And he really did. People are like, oh, well, that's a threat. No, he was trying to be, do it politically. Him and Torrhen Stark, when Torrhen Stark bends the knee after like hearing of all these other misfortunate things happening to people, he brought quite a large host down to meet Aegon, and he decided, his bastard brother wanted to go in the middle of the night and kill the dragons by himself or something. And what he did was just sent him with a letter. And letters went back and forth all through the night. And then that morning, you have Lord Torrhen Stark, walk over, lay the crown in his sword and bent his knee. And then he, went down as a king. That sounded terrible. Came back up as Warden of the North.
Warden of the North, yeah.
Yeah. So those are moments where, I would love to know what they talked about, because you can imply a lot more to that. Now that the show is telling us and Martin that Aegon was preparing for the White Walkers, is that a discussion they had? You know what I mean? Like, you could add so much to it that wasn't even meant to be. But now you can add all this stuff. Like, was he doing this, saying like, look, I can't just give up Winterfell because I have to be there. A Stark hat, like, what was he saying in these letters? It started going the minute I found out the show made Aegon's thing all about the White Walkers. That was the first thing I thought, like, he didn't mean that when he wrote that part, George, but like, it is now implied that's what they were talking about, at least to me.
Well, and since George is a part of House of the Dragon, they wouldn't have done that without his approval. So maybe that's right. A retcon or something. Ryan Kennel, he said on the stream with me that maybe what we're getting with House of the Dragon in these shows is the closest we'll get to a resolution of the Song of Ice and Fire. We're just going to get these aspects. So maybe we'll be able to enjoy it that way. But I just love just the whole idea of him just going around with his big dragon and people just saying, nope, take my crown. Here's my sword.
Yeah.
Adios, amigo. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine being Warden of the North.
He was one of the only smart ones, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Oris Baratheon, he was the one that with the battle of the who was it? Because he got rid of a whole house as well, but ended up marrying the chick.
It was the Storm King Dundar.
The Last Storm is called the battle. The Last Storm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he just basically, they're all dead, but hey, the chick's here, and he was a bastard. No, he wasn't the bastard.
Well, people believe he was a bastard brother of Aegon's, but so that's why they were so close, and he's one of the only men he truly trusted. But I love the story with that. So the Storm King said, I am not going to sit in my castle and be burned like the Black was. So he got a host of men. And just like the Storm King, when they open the gates and he starts walking out, it starts to rain a little bit, and then it starts to downpour. And Oris Baratheon beat him to a strategic mountain, not mountain type, but hilltop. And you got to give it to the Storm King. There was 6 attempts to take over Baratheon's position, but it ended with the Storm King had 12 men surrounding him. He was fighting 12 men with that many dead at his feet. And, Baratheon gets off his horse and fights him one-on-one and wins. And then goes to the castle, and the daughter is literally like, I am the new Storm Queen. We aren't going to bend the knee. And her own people that night tied her up, gagged her naked, and brought her to Oris Baratheon, who I wish he killed the people that did that, because he ended up, freeing her, clothing her, and marrying her. So I would have been like, whoever stripped my wife naked, you're dead now. But he never did do that. But that's how he became, and that's where the stag and the Baratheon's motto come from. It's actually the Storm Kings.
Yeah. But I just think that's just that's just a whole awesome thing as well, because the way they describe it here, it's the old king is like, nope. And he's like, stand aside. And so he's like, fine. So he Baratheon dismounted and offered the Storm King one last chance to yield. He cursed him instead, and so they fought. So Baratheon comes off to me, or Earth Baratheon comes off as kind of honorable. He's like, okay, man to man, let's do this. And then once he was killed, as you said, the Storm Queen, she says, you may take my castle, but you will win only bones and blood and ashes. But it says, but the soldiers of the garrison were less eager to die.
Right.
But as we've said, then Oris marries her. Boom.
Yeah. Doesn't
what
he bring her father's sword back to her or something like that too? I think I remember that.
Yeah. And see, it says that Baratheon unchained her with his own hands, wrapped his cloak around her, poured her wine, spoke to her gently, and told her of her father's courage and the manner of his death, and to honor the Father King who took arms and words of Jordan for his own. It says about the stag, his sigil. I don't see it here, but I might be wrong about him giving her the arms.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong on that too.
Yeah, but it's just cool that he took that as his sigil and they got married. And that's how we get the great house of Baratheon.
Yeah, and then you have one of the cool ones too is where you see George's love of Token. He talks about King Mur had brought half again as many men to the battle as King Lauren. So this might have been when the Gardeners and the Lannisters came together. And so demanded the honor of commanding the center. His son and heir, Edmund, was given the vanguard. King Lauren and his knights would form the right, and Lord Oakenheart the left. And this is, I believe that's the part where we get the infamous Field of Fire. When you have... So the Gardeners, this is like one that people don't realize that if you even go farther back in the history of Westeros, during the Age of Heroes, there was the Gardener King. And he was like your stereotypical like fertility god of pagan Ireland, pagan England before the Romans got there. He was like known to be a little bit green. And when he came to your town, old women were able to, flower again, and young women gave birth to triplets. And like, he was just a true hands down, fertility god. So the Gardeners were known to be like this house that's been around for tens of thousands of years, and he wiped them out.
Yeah, and the way they described the Field of Fire. Well, first of all, they started off with, "Oh, this is a good day to fight," and I'm like, "Dude, it's dry and you're in wheat," and the whole thing just went on fire. They all burned alive, and when he died of his Burns' house gardener died with him. King Lauren of the Rock lived, riding through a wall of flame and smoke to safety once he saw the battle was lost. And they had 50, the greatest host ever seen in Westeros, 55,000.
55,000. And to what? I think Aegon had a fifth of that, even less. So
fewer than 100 men. Or they lost fewer than 100 men.
They lost fewer, but he might have had less than 10,000.
Yeah.
Maybe like 8 or like he usually had about 6, 7, 8,000. And that was it. And he just hit, and that the Field of Fire is when all 3 dragons were together, right? I want to say that might be it. The only time we ever see 3 dragons, the 3 of them together, and they leveled this field. I mean, people are just dead. And if you think about what's said in the story earlier on, Gardener came with his heir and other sons, and then also his grandsons were squires. So Aegon killed kids. He didn't give a shit. Like, people want to call Dany, "Oh, you're a murderer." This dude leveled freaking lines. He leveled generations. It was war. And he's known as, the Great Conqueror. That's what killed me about that show. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Well, the problem with the whole thing with Dany, I mean, there was no strategy for it. You couldn't say, well, it was a battle. That was the only way to win. The battle was already won and she did. It would be like if Aegon had said, if they'd all surrendered and handed over their crowns, and then Aegon goes, nope, and then burns them all.
Right. But what I'm saying is started when she came up against the Lannisters in that field and killed a bunch of men and then killed Sam's brother and dad. Everyone started whistling, oh, she's good. She's lost it. She's lost.
Oh, yeah, that was ridiculous.
That's so
yeah, I see what you're saying. My fault.
Yeah.
And I never had a problem with that. That was just stupid.
No, that was dumb. Just dumb writing.
Yeah. So, and then of course the ones that were left, I kind of like it that he always finds people to replace them. It says Lauren Lannister was captured the next day after this. The King of the Rock laid his sword and crown at Aegon's feet, bent the knee, and did him homage. And Aegon, true to his promises, lifted his beaten foe back to his feet and confirmed him in his lands and lordship, naming him Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West. So he did keep his promise. So you bend the knee, you get stuff.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing that like made him great. It was like he didn't have to lie to it. I mean, dude, he was, look at that, man. I mean, both sisters are hot. You gotta, you have hot sisters like that. I don't know. But like he was able to, back up anything he said. So if he was going to be violent and cruel, he could easily be violent and cruel. But if he also was gracious and accommodating and willing to help, though most people's idea of, treating with them was like, well, you could take my daughter and I stay a king. And he's like, I already got 2 wives. They wouldn't want that. I always found that funny.
Yeah. Well, and I just like it that as we go through, we're seeing the founding as we know it of these great houses. Now we have the Lord of Casterly Rock, and then the next, the Tyrells.
Yep. Who were just stewards for the gardeners. They were a lower class family that he rose up.
And he's like, okay, here you go. You got Highgarden and all its domains, and now you're Warden of the South and Lord Paramount of the Mander.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So now
they gave him the keys of the castle without a fight. I'm imagining he shows up on the Black Dread and he's like, here you go.
Yeah, dude, I would have walked out, like, open the gate completely naked, holding keys, like, I got nothing hiding. Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm now the warden of the South. I'm down with that. Holy crap! All I had to do was give these guys keys away. Like it's impressive. But for the next 300 years, the Tyrells are known as one of the great families, and literally they were just one of the vassals, just like the Tullys of Riverrun. The only ones that's really kept their title, and not title, but to the extent of king, but kept that same level of land and lordship was the North, the Eyrie, and I would say the Lannisters. So you got the Arryns, where Rhaenys. Okay, so that's always a good story too. What happened with the Vale? So the Vale.
Oh
yeah. Talk about it for a second, because I'm going to bring up a picture of the Vale so people could see like what the Vale is. It's just a mountain range. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, well, it was actually, it wasn't Rhaenys, it was Visenya who went to the Vale of Arryn, and Rhaenys had gone to Sunspear in the Deserts of Dorne. So she goes over there, and there was a regent in the Vale because there was a boy king. And the regent lady comes out. Let's see. It says all the defenses
it's his mom, right? It's his mom.
Yes, his mom.
Yeah.
And it says all the defenses proved useless against Visenya, who rode Vagar's leathery wings above them and landed in the Eyries. And when the regent of the Vale rushed out to confront her, she found Visenya with Ronald Arryn seated on her knee, staring at the dragon. He goes, "Mother, can I go flying with the lady?" It's like, wow.
And
she got the boy sitting on his lap, and there was nothing the mother could do.
Right. And the best thing is there's like a lot of courtesies, but they're both like, threatened. She's being threatened, but like in such a polite way. Like, yeah, like I could feed your kid to the dragon, or he can ride the dragon. Which one do you want? I always found that to be really cool. It's hard to find the right picture that gives it Okay, so this is a better one. Let me see if I can get this one for you guys, because this shows the Bloody Gate, which is at the foot of the Erie, and then it shows you the actual castle in the background. And what's cool is like, if you didn't have a dragon, no way you're reaching that castle. Like just this, I mean, is one of the greatest, advantages. You have guys with, just crossbows and bow and arrows just shooting down on people as they try to go through this canyon to get up to the Erie, which, the air is thinner up there, makes it easier for them to fight. But yeah, when you have a dragon, that changes everything. And the Erie became part of it, and they were wardens of the East. And now you pretty much, other than Dorne, you have it all.
Yeah. And just so we say here, it says the little king flew thrice about the summit. So she took the little boy for a ride, ride on the dragon. And so they say that he flew a king and landed to find himself a little lord.
Yeah, I love his writing. I love the way he states it. This is probably better. So yeah, once you reach the summit, you have to cross this freaking sketchy ass bridge, and then you have to, it's just back and forth all the way up. And then there's a part where you can get in a basket and be pulled the rest of the way up. And then don't forget, in the middle of this castle, there's a hole that will drop you all the way to the bottom, the moon door. So, without dragons, no one could probably have brought that country together. No. If you really think about it, you would have had to have 200,000 men.
And that may not have even been enough. I remember how terrifyingly well he wrote Catelyn when she's going up there, and even she starts to kind of freak out. It's like, no, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and Gates of the Moon. I'm sorry. Gates of the Moon is not the Bloody Gate. My bad.
Well, and I found that the whole, he flew up, went up a king, came down a little lord. That's a little bit of the taking backwards what they said about Queen Elizabeth II was that she went up a tree. She was like in a tree house kind of a thing the night her father died. And so they said she went up a princess and came down a queen. So I think maybe that's a tribute to that, but in reverse. I think that's clever.
Well, like with his love of Tolkien and just history in general, a lot of the stuff comes from English history. You know, you have the War of the Roses, the Lancasters, and
the whole thing with Matilda, Queen Empress Matilda. That's very much House of the Dragon, and some even Thomas More, a little bit of Thomas More and Ned Stark.
Yeah. And the Lannisters and the Starks are like the Lancasters and the Yorks, right? That was
similar. And then the greens and the blacks, you had the roses, the red rose and the whites and the reds.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, we love it. And maybe that's why I am enjoying this so much. And then after this, as you said, then we went to Dorne and they were like, nope. She goes, Rhaenys goes, says, what was, she goes, sorry, Princess Maria, the yellow toad of Dorne, told Rhaenys, I will not fight you, nor will I kneel. Dorne has no king. Tell your brother that. Rhaenys goes, I shall, but we will come again, princess. And the next time we shall come with fire and blood. Your word, said Princess Maria. Ours are unbowed, unbent, unbroken. You may burn us, my lady, but you will not bend us, break us, or make us bow. Love it.
And she was right.
Dorne, you are not
badass.
Wanted here. Return at your peril. And she's like old. He's 80, and as we said, all old, disgusting, wrinkled, skin sallow and sagging. It's just great.
It's messed up.
And it remained unconquered. It worked for now. When we're going to see some stuff later, but
but really, I mean, it wasn't for another couple
100 years,
almost, or so. Almost 200 years, before it would come into the fold. But so there she is in this plain print one. She's more, not as actually nasty, but I like the yellow toad one better.
Mm.
But yeah, it's the battle now is pretty much complete except for Dorne. And Dorne is going to be the thorn in Aegon's side. It'll be the one thing that he doesn't conquer. But to him right now, the war of for Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms, in his mind, he's already won. Just has to bring Dorne in through force or whatever. And he tried multiple ways. There was treaties, there was truces, but it never lasted. The Dornish would not take a outsider to be their king. And it's pretty cool that everything that comes from that. So what did he do? In 1AC, he mounted Balerion the Black Dread at where King's Landing will be, but it's Aegon's fort at the time. And lands his dragon at the steps of the Starry Sept, the central church of the faith in Old Town. Before that, even when he landed outside of Old Town, Old Town was run by oh my god, who runs Old Town? I just blanked on their names.
The High Towers.
High Towers, thank you. Who were liege their liege lord or their king at the time were the gardeners, and they didn't send troops. So he comes out and he just goes, the city's yours, bend the knee, boom. He rises as a lord, and he's, in charge of Old Town and the areas around it. And he's crowned on the steps of the Starry Keep, Sept in 1AC. Though there was still rebellion in Dorne and the Riverlands because some of the people didn't want to take the Tullys to be their liege lords. Some coming from the Iron Islands, so down the road he has to just make them their own thing, but mostly in Dorne. But yeah, so pretty much that is the first 1AC, the crowning of him. Everyone just considers him king of Westeros.
Yeah. And yeah, he was anointed with the 7 oils. The High Septon dude, he actually had like a vision. He went and prayed and fasted for 7 days and 7 nights, and then came out and said, "Nope, we're gonna we're gonna surrender it, because if we don't, we're gonna surely burn." And it's the first time that, and he crowned him. They say the big thing. They anoint Aegon of House Targaryen, first of his name, King of the Andals, and all these things. And he had collected all the swords.
Yes.
From the places that he had conquered, and then he named a little smaller area at a small new town arising up on the 3 hills, and he called it King's Landing.
Yep.
And he took all of the swords from his conquering, melted, twisted, beaten, and broken blades of all his fallen foes, rather, a perilous seat that would soon be known as the Iron Throne of Westeros.
Yeah, it's just awesome the way they put that.
Yeah, it's all together now.
Yeah, and one thing, the Iron Throne, you need to know is that most of them were twisted mess from dragon fire, but none of the northern men, their swords were perfect. They were one of the only ones that all the swords, not one was burnt, because Torrhen Stark made the right decision. Even though he'll be known as the king that knelt, he saved his people from a terrible outcome. So in this way, he humbled his foes, by making this. And this is what it really looked like, not what the show gave you. Even this isn't as twisted as the one that other designs I've seen. But he is supposed to be like, when we first meet King Robert or whoever wants to sit on that, you're supposed to be just way over the top of everybody, and just literally them looking up at you with just a hunk of metal, swords, axes, whatever it was, turned into a throne. Devastating, man, to look at. I'd be terrified to mess with that dude.
Yeah. Well, and I just keep thinking I'd get the worst cuts.
Oh
But that was
God,
part
yeah,
of the myth, is that, like, if you
right,
were not aware,
right,
the king would cut you.
right. And some that got cuts died from the cuts.
Mhm,
So like it's very well, they say they died from the cuts. But
mhm,
someone like if you watch House of the Dragon, even though a lot of people really enjoyed Viserys as king, he was the actor just did a tremendous job with him. He always got cuts and sores and
mhm.
you know, lost fingers and toes to it.
Yep,
Because
because he
it just
sucked.
yeah, yeah,
He was a bad king.
yep,
He was a horrible king.
yep. And people talk about, well, isn't it uncomfortable? You're not supposed to sit on a throne comfortably. That's why he made it this way. So it forces you to like pay attention, like, because you don't want to be cut, you don't want to be, so you're sitting there like stiff as board, like watching people instead of lounging on your throne and not really listening to people. So it's
Mhm.
very cool. Probably not having the tetanus shot. Yeah, that could be it.
Well, that too. Well, no antibiotics, no Neospor.
Neosport. That'd be funny. But yeah, it's a very cool picture right there. So yeah, that's pretty much chapter 1. All right. So then you go into chapter 2, Reign of the Dragon and the War of King Aegon the First. And some of the stuff they kind of talk, rehash. You
Mhm.
notice that a couple times in the chapters, they rehash stuff they already told you, but
Yep.
it's a history book, so they want to make sure you know it.
Yeah. Previously on our Fire and Blood book, remember? Yeah, they
Yeah.
have the stuff with the Iron Islands and the
Yep. And
problems with the
Dorn.
priests of the drowned god,
Oh,
because they
right.
weren't gonna put up with this.
Right. You had the one guy who said he was the son of the drowned god, one of the priests. And then
Yeah, Lodos.
when
And he filled
Lodos
his
when
robes with stones and walked into the sea to seek my father's counsel. Thousands followed. I'm like, Jonestown or much?
hmm
It's just like, whoa. That's
and that's one of the beautiful
didn't
things
end
of his
well.
writing.
Yeah.
That's what I love about his writing, because he does put the potential danger of faith, of religion, not faith, but religion.
Mhm.
How
Well,
it could be,
fanaticism maybe is a better
yeah,
word for that. Yeah.
yeah, fanaticism, not religion itself, but because you never see him really talk bad about the northern religion. Um,
Mhm.
it's more of a nature based religion, but you get it with the seven. You'll find he does show septons and septas very nice and good people doing the right thing for the people. But once you get higher up in the hierarchy,
Mhm.
a lot of the people he show you are just twisted. They're just
Yeah.
they forgot what the faith is all about.
Well, and very much like what happened with the church in the Middle Ages, where it became more of almost like another kingdom instead of what it was supposed to be, and
Yeah.
princes and all of that, and that's why. And you had all these reforms. That's why a lot of it reminded me of some of the Franciscan reforms and
Right.
the
Right.
Carmelites. All of them
Or
were
like
coming
the
like,
the
no, we need to get back to
Protestant.
being pure. Let's go out barefoot and
Yeah.
lick
Oh yeah, and the
lick the
flat.
wounds of the lepers, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. The
maybe I'm
more pu-
exaggerating slightly, but not too much.
the more pussy the better. Um yeah,
Yeah.
but you're right about that. And that's what I thought the high sparrow was going to be in the books. Like
Mhm.
but it seems to be he has a deeper plan. But that's the newer stuff.
We still
But
don't know
yeah,
that, yeah.
yeah, the Mason from Free Folk of the Fandom guys, we're trying to get to him to 100 subs. Please sub to the man. He is a good dude and
Okay.
really loves this stuff, and we got to get him there. He does bring up a good thing I forgot. While before Aegon gets to Old Town, the High Septon goes, I must meditate and fast on this, and for 7 days doesn't take anything but a little bit of water and a little bread. And when he comes out, he says, we
Mhm.
cannot defeat him through strength.
Nope.
He said it couldn't defeat Aegon and his dragon through might. So it sounds like the start of a conspiracy. And it wasn't the Maester. I think that was the High Septon who said that. But his Maester, you might be right. Hightower's Maester might have also said something like that to him, because I do believe the two have a conspiracy against the Targaryens, and it started there. Love that line, right? And the blood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the blood attracted krakens. That's right.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to miss it. Yay, we brought the Krakens. Aren't we awesome?
Yeah,
We
that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. But I like this chapter because it shows, first of all, that even after a conquering, not everything goes well, and the way he ruled, and
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, not a lot of huge events happen in this one.
Yeah, well,
There's more stuff with the Dorns, and
yeah. Chapter 2 is all about Dorne, and it's bloody, and there's a lot of eye for an eye. And pretty much to sum up that chapter really quick, the Dornish said they won't bend the knee. Aegon will send men, and they'll find castles completely abandoned. And this is all mostly desert land, like people just gone. They would start marching deeper into Dorne, and any watering hole they stopped at, their horses would keel over because all the watering holes were poisoned. And then once the dragons thought they had a castle, they would leave, Aegon would leave some lord there to rule. And out of nowhere, the Dornish would come back, kill everybody in the castle, and then just disappear. Aegon would melt the castle. They leave, the Dornish come back. It was a lot of hit and run, hit and run, hit and run, to the point where the yellow toad or whatever dies, Princess Miriam, and her Lord Nymor is her heir. He was like 60 years old already. But he wanted to end the war without an official surrender. But what happened right around that time, he sent a letter to Aegon, who read it and never spoke words of the content. Because right before that, Rhaenys is flying there for one of her multiple strikes, and dragons always are flying through arrows and spears, and you could barely even puncture one of their scales, but someone pulls out one of those scorpions and gets the dragon right in the eye. And the dragon plummeted into the castle, which I want to say was Hellholt, and literally took out the tower and part of the wall. And we never see Rhaenys again. Many say that the letter that was sent to Aegon from Lord Nymor may had information about her, like her death, her body, how she died, something, because he never spoke of what the letter said. But he was done after that. He just, we're gonna leave it, and those Dornish wars were over.
Yeah, and they said his hand was dripping blood after he read it, and he burned the letter. I don't know, though. I think it might, personally, it's got to be a little more than that, though. It's because if you have something that you write in a letter that shakes up Aegon Targaryen,
right? Do you think she was still alive?
No, I think she died. I think it's pretty clear, because I believe they say no one survives that long of a fall, and because there are like thousands of hundreds of feet in the air.
They were way up.
Yeah.
Some say though that the letter was written in his sister's blood. I don't know what was written. It could just be easily, some say it was one father to another father. Like, let's not do this and have our children fighting and dying. I don't know, but to be that angry where he's bleeding had to be something with her body or a threat that we just never find out, which is one of the things I love about Martin. We probably will never find out what was in that letter.
Yeah, it said some claim it was a simple plea from one father to another. Nah, that wouldn't have gotten Aegon. Others says it was a list of all the lords and noble knights who had lost their lives. I don't know that either. Some said that maybe it was ensorcered, that it had been written by the Yellow Toad before her death using a vial of Queen Rhaenyra's own blood for ink. There you go. So that the king would be helpless to resist its magic. So that it was that compelled him. But whatever it was, it freaked him out. And that just strikes me so much.
Yeah, same. And what Shane says here, he did consult Visenya at Dragonstone before announcing his decision to stop the so-called first Dornish wars.
Yeah.
Anything else on chapter 2, please?
Well, I was just going to say there was one part in it that was very disturbing when you're talking about what the Dorns did when they,
Oh,
including the
they,
Baratheon,
yeah,
Baratheon, they
Oris.
cut off their sword hands. So it just took
Yep,
7 of the great warriors, and so then it effectively took them out of the battle. But
yep,
also, I mean, that's just awful when a man loses his sword hand. We saw that in, for example, Game of
yeah,
Thrones when
Jamie.
Jaime lost his sword hand. They may as well have cut off their
His
manhood,
dick.
and
Yeah,
so
like Walton.
that this was really brutal, bloody, and a very, very high price. And I think that it's different from what we saw with Aegon the Conqueror like in the first chapter. It's like things seem to be going pretty cool. And this, it's like, damn, this just got dark. And he lost the woman he loved.
Yeah, yeah, the only
The-
one he loved.
He
You
lost a
know.
sister he
Yep.
loved best.
But she did give him a son before she passed away.
Hmm.
And that's another thing, like the way they do the chapters. Chapter 3, they have to go back kind of and
Hmm.
summarize because they're then talking the three heads had the dragon governance under King Aegon the First. And they talk about how he and it wasn't just him; it was really ruled by him and his sisters. Um, Rhaenys loved art and the singers, and a lot of people thought she was betting, most of them, but she was, if you look at what she was doing, she was being very calculated because this,
Hmm.
get the singers singing songs about the Targaryens that are positive, and then they go out to all the countrysides and sing these
Yeah.
songs. It was
Like,
helping with the propaganda.
mhm. They turned him into a legend, and Vithinia was working with some dark art as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that, or it was supposed. They also point out that it's very odd that they each only had one child because back then they
Yes.
were they were all popping out babies left and right. They were pregnant all the time, but for some
Mm-hmm.
reason they weren't. I
Yeah.
don't know what
And
was going on there because you think that Aegon. It wasn't like they were using moon tea or something because Aegon would be like, "Boom, we need to pop out some babies here," but they
right.
only popped out 2
And what's
between them.
crazy about that is between the two sisters, yeah, one son each. And this was within the first 10 years of his kingship because that's how long the first Dornish wars lasted till 10 AC.
Hmm.
Yeah, you would like it. I understand with Visenya was duty, but Rhaenys, I mean, the dude, she was hot.
Hmm.
He wanted, you know what I mean? I don't know. But she
Yeah, they
gave
said
him,
what for every 9 days that he was with Rainey's, it was one day with Visinia. So
right.
he was trying to multiply there. But I thought it was interesting. You just pointed it out that Rhaenys was unfaithful to him,
Yeah.
and so some rumors started that maybe Anus or
What?
Anus. I'm sorry. How do you say his name?
Annie's,
Damn,
Annie's.
Anus.
Definitely
Oh
not anus,
gosh.
but that was even better. Oh
Oh
god, that was
gee.
great. Someone clip that.
Maybe he wasn't the king's son because he was weakly and stuff. So some rumors started, and since she was known to screw around,
It was never proven. Everybody said she did.
yeah,
I guess it was proven. I just guess Aegon's the only one that didn't know, or he just looked the other way. I don't know. That to me always sounded weird.
yeah, and it could have been maybe propaganda too. To be fair, because a queen who cheated, it was very dangerous because of pregnancy, and it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
So, y- and I don't think that Aegon would have put up with it, even for the woman
No.
he loved.
Right. Right. Yeah, Shane, I saw that too. It was dope. That's dope that they were. I didn't watch the episode yet though. Yeah, the love of his life dies. He
Mhm.
stops the wars, and then we do see that she did do stuff, to help him out with the people.
Mhm.
He was very smart. He was always on half the year. He would do what they call a royal progress.
Mhm.
So it was a royal tour. I mean, he went to the north like 6 times in his kingship, other places multiple times, and he made sure to keep himself out there and seen by the small folk, seen by lords, so they wouldn't think twice,
Mhm.
because after a couple years, even against dragons, if you don't see that king, you might grow a pair again. And
Yeah.
he understood that. So he would spend 6 months of the year just visiting parts of the Westeros, and the other 6 would be between Dragonstone and what is King's Landing, which was started out as a little fort, and a town started building up around it. And by this point, I think there was almost close to like 100,000 people living there. And there was no walls or anything. And people were like, well, we don't need them when you have dragons. But there is a point I remember reading where he realized, I need to have, what happens if there was like some attack where one of the lords wasn't at his keep, and this, not the Vulture King, somebody else came in and murdered the family and left. And he realized, okay, I need walls, because what happens if all 3 of us are gone, and then boom. So it started becoming a city and known as King's Landing, which is cool.
Yay.
Yeah. So they were,
and then we get to the next generation, because eventually he dies of a stroke with, I think, in the presence of his grandchildren.
One thing we did miss on the Three Heads first, the chapter 3, Visenya was very into the security of Aegon, to the point where she decided he needed quality men around him to protect him. And he was like, that one of the best scenes. As he was standing there telling her, like, I don't need this, I got these guys around me. She got to him so fast and cut his cheek with a dagger, and literally said to him, I could have cut off your head as easily as I just cut your cheek, before any of the other guys could even draw their swords. And that she is actually the one that created the King's Guard. And he wanted, right. And it was all her too. His idea was, oh, let's have a tourney and the best fighters will become my King's Guard. And she said, no, I want the most devout people. Yeah, they need to be great fighters, but they need to be so loyal to you. So she, which you don't see down the line as much, but there were bastards, there were small folk, like just people that were not, you would never expect to be the King's Guard. She just picked the 7 most loyal and most like just great fighters that she could. And it turned out to be the smartest thing she did, because there was multiple attacks on his life.
And it tells you how much that he respected her, even if he didn't love her as much as he loved his other wife, that he not only allowed her to cut his cheek, he allowed her to do this, to create the King's Guard, and he listened to her.
Yeah, he wasn't, the one thing you could say about Aegon better than most kings ever, anywhere, he was humble. He was willing not, because another king would have had her head chopped off, because it wasn't the love of his life. She embarrassed him in front of the court, but he took it as, wow, you are, you are trying to show me something, and you showed me something. And another thing I found neat was that they had to swear a vow, and she took that idea from the Night's Watch. So they would have to be chastised. They'd have to be chased. They'd have to give up their lands and titles to have this honor of protecting the king.
Yeah. And they called the first ones Aegon's 7.
Yeah.
Very and that's cool. What started the whole book thing of and the King's Guard remains a synonym for honor to this day.
Yep. Another thing Rhaenys did was she protected women. So she gave fairer treatment to women usually. And there's a story about a husband found his wife with another man and killed her, and the brothers wanted justice. And he was like, I did all what the faith told me I could do. I grabbed a rod that was not thicker than my thumb, and I proceeded to hit her. And Rhaenys came up with the then after
rule of 6,
which is brilliant. Like, it was her that came up with the rule of 6. Like, you only get 6 of them, because the 7th one is for the stranger, and that's death.
Yes.
So yeah, that was a dope part. I don't know if you have.
Well, and then she allowed the brothers of the wife that he had beaten to death. She allowed them to beat the shit out of him to death.
Right.
So,
well, she allowed them she allowed them 94 more hits because the guy most likely took 100 hits.
Oh yeah, that's what times. It was. Yeah, well, so even better than just letting him kill him. It's like, well,
absolutely. She gave him the okay. You got your 6 that were lawful. Now you're going to get the 94 from the brothers. Like if you only stuck with the 6, you would have been all right. But guess what? Now you got 94. It was just a brilliant little thing she did. Like, and I love that Martin adds these things to tell you how these rules happen. It was pretty cool. Yeah. And, roads and things like that started, but not really the way they became under like Jaehaerys's rule. So a lot of people, I would put the Conqueror near the top of the list of great kings of rulers out of the 16 Targaryens that followed him. And then we get to the chapter, The Sons of the Dragon, where we will end this because this will definitely take the rest of the time. What would you like to say anything about it first? Because I loved it. Insane chapter.
Well, it just goes to show that you can conquer a kingdom, but you can't guarantee that things will go well afterwards. And you sure as hell can't guarantee that your sons and cousins and brothers and uncles and nephews and wives, because they're all mixed together, will get along. It's one of the problems of having hereditary rule. You can't choose. And
I almost feel like Maegor, wild. Well, we'll get to it, but Maegor tried to set precedents after, but like he's the strongest, but that didn't follow either. So Aegon died. What year was that?
He died in, oh gee whiz, where is it? Well, because they go back and they tell us some things.
Yeah, yes, it was like 30 something AC, 33 or 37, something like that.
Yeah, and he had a son, Aegon. I'm sorry,
Anus again.
It's Aenys, right?
Up. Sorry.
This is what happens when you don't have a TV show to help me with the pronunciation.
Aenys,
Aenys, who is Rhaenys' son. He was first, and then and then Viserys'
son. Yeah.
Maegor, and and Visenya was still around. So as the queen regent, sorry, not the queen regent, rather the mother dowager.
Yeah, queen dowager. What does that mean?
Well, that's what happens when like the husband dies. So for example,
like Lord
you
Mother.
had we had the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth's mother. So she's still the queen, but she's the dowager queen because her husband's dead, and she's not like the ruling queen, but she still gets to be called,
keeps the title,
queen.
Okay.
Well, technically, same thing with Cersei after Robert died, and she was the dowager queen.
I just never knew. I didn't know what the term dower meant.
Probably comes actually off the top of my head. I'm not quite sure where that name comes from, but everybody Google will find it. But the first sons, sorry, they don't have a sister to marry him to, so they have cousins. They're like, well, we'll get close enough. We'll get some cousins to not shack up, rather, to hook up, which is kind of
yeah. So they go to the Valerians, and it's a Valerian wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing Shane has a good point here. He thinks Maegor was the rightful heir because you say first wife, but he married them both. I thought at the same time. She was the eldest sister, though.
Yeah. So there's like the precedent of the first wife. You're right from a certain point of view. It would need to be determined. Is it the one who comes out first, or is it in precedent? Right. So Maegor wasn't pulling it out of his buttocks when he was like, yeah, I'm the real king, perhaps. But that's why you don't have polygamy, okay?
Yeah,
that solves the issue.
It does. It screws it up because I don't remember the marriage. Like I thought they married at the same time. But yeah, he went by the firstborn son because he had 2 wives. So I think that's what he did. Oh, here we go. Tina not joining us.
Thank you. Endow. Oh, that's where it comes from, dowry. That a woman would have a dowry when she got married. Yeah.
Endow, something Walton's never heard of either. Or Zach's. Anyways, Thank you, Tina, panelist who likes Fridays the most. I watched that show. I heard you say that. I keep messing with her about that.
Oh.
Anyways, inside thing. Yeah, so we get Aenys, not anus, but Aenys.
I know. I'll get it
is
right.
Yeah. So you have Maegor and Aenys. Aenys is a little bit older, but he's more of a scholarly type man. He was loved. And this is what messed him up. He was shown so much love from Westeros when his dad was king. And I think that's what screwed him up, because Maegor, I don't think, got the same. He never went on these progressive, whatever they are, the tours.
Yeah.
Because in the later years, it was Aenys and his wife would go on the tours and this and that. But he becomes crowned king over Maegor, his brother, who is the just badass. I mean, by the age of 12, he was beating grown men in tournaments. Like, he was just a brute of a man.
He was also kind of psycho, though, because his mother gave him a sword at the age of 3, and he proceeded to chop up a cat.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you're 3 years old. What else are you going to do? There's a cat around. Come on. My kid I got to watch him because he's like pulling the cat by its tail. I think if I gave him a sword, one of my 3 cats would be dead.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. You are a simp for Maegor.
I love the guy. I'm just saying, everyone put this on him, and it's like, dude, he's a 3-year-old with a sword. What else is he gonna do? Anyways, so yeah, his weak brother Aenys became the king, and the minute he was crowned, the rest of the world went against him. I mean, there was still the rebellions going on in the Riverlands. A vulture king in Dorne appears. You have the High Septon saying that he is a
abomination.
Thank you. Because he was born of a brother and sister, even though he would never say that to Aegon. But now that Aenys is here, you're an abomination. You are no longer the king. And a lot of people back that, because the seventh, the faith, was very powerful.
Well, wait, no, wait, not Aenys. It was his son that. It was Aegon.
Aegon's son, Aenys. Aegon died. Aenys became king, and the faith started to speak out against him.
Yeah, well, because what happened was Aegon, the son of Aenys, married the sister. Yeah, that's what made. Yeah, so Aenys was kind of all cool for the most part, but what happened was he made the decision to have his 2 kids marry. It's like, hey, we got a girl, we got a boy. Woohoo! Now we're gonna have some incest here, and that's what made them kind of lose their crap. The Septus, because they were like, listen, we dealt with it with Aegon, fine, but. Come and the cousins, all right, we can deal with cousins, but we're going back to this, and we ain't having this. And so
100% right. I'm sorry.
So that Maegor, their uncle, took advantage of that after Aenys died, and basically declared him king.
But we got to remember, so with Aenys, though, Aenys was never decisive. But Aenys just started pumping out children with his wife. And Maegor married to a high tower, which is one of the larger houses. If not, you can call it a great house. They weren't having children. Even though, well, they did. Wait a minute, didn't they have?
No, I don't think so. You see, that was the thing, because he declared her barren and tried to put her away.
The way he words it, the night of their marriage, he says he consummated it like 12 times and impregnated her with a son, and a year later a son was born, but it was Aenys' son. Like Maegor never got Aegon, right? Yeah, so Maegor never got her pregnant, and puts her to a side and marries somebody else. There was like a couple women, so I always forget what the second one was.
Yeah, the second one, because that ended badly. Oh, by the way, it's AC 37 when Aegon the Conqueror died.
Okay,
but so he goes off and he marries.
Is it Alice?
Yeah,
Alice of
Allison.
Harroway.
Yeah, and because that's the second one,
Yep.
and that was, of course, incredibly controversial because you know they
Yep.
don't want to. It was they were already upset, so they got some incest on one side, and
Mm-hmm.
now they have got polygamy going on,
Mm-hmm.
even though he said she was and they called her Magar's whore. Yeah, Lady
Right.
Alice. And they were like the septs and all them were like, you got to put her aside. You got to go back to your real wife. And
Right.
they did get married officially by the seven, all that. They did it in the
Right.
Valerian rite, wed
Valerian.
by blood and fire. And then
Yeah,
they
I would
go,
like to know. I would love to see that wedding. Blood and
oh,
fire. What
yeah.
up?
Well, isn't
And
that kind of what we saw in the House of the Dragon with Rhaenyra and Daemon? They did that old thing.
yeah. That was supposed to be, but
It
yeah.
kind of
That was Valerian
it was
women
weird.
doing it. It was weird.
But
And
then what they did was they came back with a witch. And
yeah, so he exiles them.
yeah.
Right? He exiles them for 5 years. But the mistake Aenys did earlier on is people were like pushing for Maegor to rule over because the he should be a warrior, this and that. The king should be a fighter. And when Aenys saw his brother, he proclaimed that Maegor would be equal to him in rulership and handed him Blackfire. So
Mhm.
now, jump ahead, he exiles him, tells him to give him back Blackfire, and Maegor's like, okay, come and get it. Like
Yeah.
pretty much, what are you gonna do? You can take it if you can, type thing. So that was cool. So he said, how can he rule the seven kingdoms if he can't even rule his brother? Many started saying about
Mm.
Aenys. So there was a lot of crazy stuff. So Aenys end up likely was poisoned. He ends, he's in Dragonstone, trying to figure out what to do about all these different rebellions. Visenya, there was the High Septon denounced that he could not be the king of Westeros, and that pretty much he should be the king, the Septon. And Visenya was like, you either, fly there on your dragon and do that, kill this man, or I'm going. And he wouldn't let her go. So now you got Visenya, who's really pissed off with Aenys for, exiling her son, and pissed off with Aegon and everybody for not letting her son be the ruler. Somehow Aenys starts getting stomach issues and most
Mm.
likely bowels, loose bowels, all this stuff, couldn't sleep, and ends up dying. So he was most likely, I think she poisoned him.
Poison. Mm.
Yeah.
'Cause there was poison happening. They mentioned it several times
Mm-hmm.
that's what they operated with. And we kinda have 2 kings because then Maegor is saying he's a king, and they're all and Aegon is they're saying he's a king, and he kind
Right.
of is, to be
Right.
fair.
I mean, Aegon should technically be the king, right?
Yeah.
But
Unless you believe
Maegor,
that Maegor should have been the king, and so
I mean, he should have. He should have. He's the
oh,
best
but,
king.
the male primogenitor was having some issues with all of this,
Yeah.
and, yeah, if I'm correct, yeah, so that's what went down there, and then Aegon and his mother and Rhaena, his sister wife, they were basically held hostage,
Mm-hmm.
but Rhaena had a baby, and so that
Yeah. Twin
is
girls.
yeah, twin girls. Oh gosh, there's some creepy stuff a little bit with that later.
Yep.
Oh, so and then this is where you see Magor the Cruel, because he was obsessed with the the making a red keep, and he built like all this stuff and
Oh yeah, the Red
killed.
Keep had all these secret passageways that we hear about from Varys in the
Mhm.
the story that we all know. But yeah, he built the Red Keep, which is fantastic, and killed all the people that were involved in creating it. But again, how do you blame him? The guy
Yeah.
had people building secret passageways so he could protect his family. And you got to kill those people because they could easily just be paid off or be drunk at a bar and telling everybody.
But here's the problem, for crying out loud. We saw the practicality of it later. The next time he wanted to build something, no one would do it. They all fled the city.
They're terrible, terrible
And he
citizens.
had to take people from prisons to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The tears of Liz, maybe I'm missing that. I don't know what Shane's saying there. That just caught my eye. Maybe that's something I missed. Yeah, because Visenya presided.
Tears of Lys, the poison that may have killed him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the witch, I forget her name. Wait, I just lost her. She was just here. Gosh, there are so many names here. It's ridiculous. He married, so he took a third wife, and this one really was a witch. And it turns out that, how Maegor wasn't having any babies, but finally there were some pregnancies, but the babies died they were all twisted and they were miscarried, and they were just total freaks. And then Maegor lost his crap, and it's like, that couldn't be my son. And then the witch bitch, she goes, well, I don't want to say, but she was screwing other people because they wanted to have a baby. That's how she got pregnant. And men, 20 men got killed because
they deserved it.
Yeah. Oh, no, they did not, because they were innocent. They didn't do it because
they were banging. He didn't know that. They needed to die.
Well, and then he went and he killed all their houses. I mean, he just went berserker.
Well, if you have if you have the balls to bang the king's wife, you deserve to die.
Well, that's from his point of view, but and then every last one of them, and they say that she spoke with rats and spiders, Tirana.
Oh yeah, she was a witch.
And then we find out the dumb bitch was lying because she would poison them. That's what we find out. So all of those people were killed for absolutely nothing, and then she couldn't get pregnant.
Right. And and some of that gets a little crazy. Like he lands, says he's the king, and then the Faith, he has a battle with the Faith, and that's one of the first seven against 7. So the Faith has 7. What do you call it when someone fought for Tyrion? They were his
champion.
Champion. Yeah. So the Faith had 7 champions, and then no one would step up for Maegor until this local yokel, somebody Dick, I forget his name, Dick Beans or something like that, steps up, and then some knights are like, wait a minute, this dude's stepping up. He's not scared to fight. So he finally gets enough people, and this battle ensues where Maegor gets hurt really bad. I mean, it cracks his helm. That's how hard he got hit. Many people thought he died right there, but he ends up going on to be victorious, but then falls ill, coma, something. And for 20 some odd days, he's non-responsive until that witch takes over the care of him with his mother, and he gets up the next day. So again, the Maesters are involved in some conspiracy. I'm telling you, they're slowly trying to kill Targaryens. Because how does that even happen? These are the things, like when you said, I would love to read the magic side, Targaryen side of it. Some type of sorcery was used.
Yeah. And of course we don't know, but yeah. And that's also one of the reasons why he believed her, no matter what she said. And then, of course, once he did find out what she had done, because basically she killed his heirs. Yeah. He tortured her. I mean, he did some horrible stuff to her. I think it took 2 weeks. Well, I mean, for that she did.
Yeah.
And and then before that, I'm putting the cart a little bit before the horse.
Yeah.
Before he found out that she was lying, he decided to marry the 3 black brides. They're called that because they were widows, and they all had proven to be fertile. One of them was his niece Rhaena, who had been married to Aegon, because, by the way, Aegon died in a battle against Maegor. So Maegor now is a kinslayer.
Right. Wait a minute. Say that one more time. He has a kinslayer.
Maegor killed Aegon because
Right.
Aegon got some balls because they snuck in and they got their dragons and they met him in battle and Aegon
Yes.
was killed. So Maegor is now a kinslayer and Rhaena is
Yeah.
a widow. So she became one of the 3 women he married. So he married his widow. So now he's like the stepfather of the alleged
Hey,
heirs.
first of all, okay, Aegon should never have attacked him. Okay, sorry you died, dude. And he did the right thing. He married his widow to, protect the family.
Well, and they also threatened them because she had sent her children away in hiding.
Mm-hmm.
But the witch found them and brought them to the wedding, and she's like, "Do you really think that we would have, you could hide these children from us?"
Right.
It's very, very creepy.
Yeah. I gotta say, out of this book, this is one of my favorite chapters.
Oh
The
yeah,
Meg, it's just full of just what the hell.
it's wild, and of course, to make a long story short, people started to abandon him,
Mm-hmm.
and finally, Jaehaerys, who's the youngest son of Rhaena and Aegon, they start declaring him the king. So they actually did. I'm sorry, they did declare him the king, and yeah, his nephew Jaehaerys is the rightful heir by all of the 7 kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of dies. Like,
Yeah,
we
just
don't
like
know.
sitting in the chair, right?
Yeah, and it said that his the Iron Throne itself killed him.
Yes.
Now, I
Almost
like
like it's a breathing, or it's a living thing.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is kinda awesome because the whole myth, if you will, is that if you're an unworthy king and all that, that you're gonna be cut. Perhaps a more practical explanation, which the narrator says is, or someone just slipped in and actually killed him.
Right. Right.
He was just murdered because
Yeah.
everyone started to abandon him. Because here's the deal, he went too far, and the
Yes.
whole thing about him going and killing all of these people who turned out to be innocent. You had Aegon where yeah, he did his stuff, but it was in battle, and this was because his 3rd wife was a lying literal witch.
Mm-hmm.
He slaughtered them, and he slaughtered them in horrendous fashion, threw
Right.
all the sons of these men onto pikes.
But again, without Maegor, the Faith and their army would have killed the Targaryens. I
Yeah,
truly
that's true.
believe
He
that.
did whip their asses. If
Yeah,
there's one
I
good thing he
truly
did.
believe that. Yep. I mean, without him putting down that and destroying them, uh, which we're now seeing the rebirth of them in the Game of Thrones portion of this story.
Mhm,
They are the type of people you don't want to fight because they believe, again, they have God on their side. This is a crusade. We must kill these
mhm.
heathens. And if it wasn't for Maegor putting them in their place, the Targaryens would have ended. So,
That's possible. And it was bloody and it was long, and they were willing to die. It wasn't it a situation when they surrendered, they were given the chance to go to the wall or, die.
yeah,
And so many chose death, but many also did choose to go to the wall.
right, right. And it was just one of those things. Yeah, he did kill a lot of people. Really messed up with the family stuff, but again, without Maegor, there'd be no
Mm.
Targaryens. So you got to give him props on that. God bless him. And that's where we're going to end it. Anything else on that chapter? Because it is one of those where we might have to like rehash it a little bit next week.
Mhm.
Just give the ending of it before we go into Prince into King, the Ascension of Jaehaerys the First. Yeah.
Yeah, and the alleged, best time ever until it wasn't the
It
best
was.
time ever.
No.
But yeah, I think there's just so much information here because we did kind of give the Cliff Notes version of it here, but it gets not repetitive is probably the wrong word because it was very interesting, but just a lot of rebellion and a lot of dragons and things going on.
Yeah.
But it showed the problem with marrying relatives too, because as we said, it wasn't clear the succession, but also Maglor, he said, when in doubt, he's like, or Magor, whatever the hell his name is, he said, well, the crown goes to the one who wins it, which to be fair, that's how Baratheon won it. It's like, so let's
that's
quit
how
quibbling
Aegon won it.
about that.
I that's what
and if you think
I meant
about
to bring up.
Yeah, and if you think about all the problems that are going to be going for the next 100, 200 years, it's all about the friggin' succession, including what we see in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, everything's
So if
about
there's
succession.
the theme, we got a problem.
There's very few smooth transitions in this book. There's very few smooth ones. Some of them, we see the Dance of the Dragons. I'm trying to, and I'll probably send out a message through my YouTube and on X to let you guys know, but we'll be going chapter 5 will be the next chapter we cover, the start of Jaehaerys. And then we might even go all the way through 12 or through 11, because all of it is about just different part of Jaehaerys's and Alysanne's rule. So if you can get a week worth, 5 through 11 through are done, we'll probably cover that. So just to let everybody know. So if they want to catch up on their reading, and then after that, we'll start getting into House of the Dragon stuff material, and even what we'll be seeing in season 2.
Yes, so, spoilers.
Yeah, we will let you know when it's spoilers, definitely. But it's been a great time.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and that's what I do enjoy. They will make a huge mistake if they try to stray too far. That's all I got to say about that, because it is perfect the way it is.
I mean, that's why I said Magor is one of my favorite chapters, that the Sons of the Dragon. But when you get into the dance too, like just the insane stuff that they do to each other, it's such a great chapter. Like this season 2, if they follow and they're at least respectful to the books and don't try to rush it, they can have 3-4 more seasons of just intrigue and backstabbing and just surprise deaths and just crazy things. It should be really good.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about that rereading. I've been rereading all of this stuff. They have a whole season of what even happens to end the dance, after a major event that kind of ends it, if you know what I mean. There's still how do they come to a relative peace afterwards? That's a whole season right there.
Oh yeah, Aegon. Yeah. I won't go on to it yet, but yeah, you're right. And real quick, like Shane said, guys, after this is over, we're actually live right now on Rumble, on YouTube, and I think I even did Twitch for the first time in a long time. So if you're on Twitch, thank you. But please come back on Rumble and YouTube. Just come right back after we end the show and just leave a comment, even if it's just comment or how awesome, Miss Martin Muses is.
Aww.
Or
about Mason was right. I did that because I felt guilty, because I was like, he was right, damn it.
Yep. Or
justice.
Zach's and Walt and Zanus thing they have going in the chat.
Oh dear. I mean, was that my fault because I said anus?
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. Someone should write a story about the Sporkarian dynasty. I might start an anime about that. I don't know. That sounds really cool.
Well, we got some epic drama today where the kids broke your microphone, and
if
you will tell me the truth. Do not lie to your father.
I am more of a Magor than an anus. Okay. Yeah, my daughter she came through it well, though. I give her credit.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, so chapter 5 through 11, if you want to read along with us next week, or if you just enjoy listening, that's awesome too. Miss Martin Muses, let them know a little bit about you before we leave.
Oh, well, I'm here on YouTube where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. I've blazed past the 1,000. It's been loads of fun. I just need some more watch hours. So if you wouldn't mind, it's about 200 watch hours now, to get fully monetized, and then the party of the century. Tomorrow night, we're going to be having High King Feanor, the Alpha Chat of Middle Earth, talking about Boromir in the books. From the Lord of the Rings, and the rules are we're not allowed to talk about the movie. Everyone wants to start talking about the movie. It's like, no, let's look at Boromir exactly the way Tolkien presented him. And then Wednesday night, it's going to be a blast. I love, as you know, I love Lord of the Rings more than everything. This is fun, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of like the way George Martin feels. As we know, if you would take 3 seconds to research, kids. Also, Wednesday night going to be Catholic Explaining Lent with Magitech Mags. So that's the other one that is planned, and then more musings and other things that I'm going to be coming up with. So please give a like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for being here, guys. This chat, I've been reading it, like stumbling on what I'm saying because it's hilarious. So thank you, Walton, for always putting up the likes and share stuff. Shane, for just being my encyclopedia. Riff, thank you for the donation to the channel. So to LG, LDG, hashtag free the net, guys. I'm going to put his link one more time in the chat. He gave out 5 Sporking memberships, so I got to give a little applause for that. So guys, please make sure to sub to him and click on one of his videos. Tell him I told you I sent you, because he deserves it. He's a good person, always supporting the channels. We also have, wait a minute, Spork Landing was hearing rumors about the arrival of the High Spork. Oh, dude, there is some potential with that. I like it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got to do it. We'll make something up where I play every role in a one-man show. Oh, look who shows up for the end. What is up,
it's Mr. Grant Gregory.
Wait, we got some
Hello. So, what did I miss?
Well,
everything.
Sporking is a simp for Maglor. There's something wrong with him because he's a sick F. Or Maglor.
She rather back anus. I
made a mistake. I said anus. I said anus. It came out. What can I say?
No, I think that's correct. And Magor is the goat, so we've established this.
The little one okay?
Sick people.
Shane wants to make sure your little one's okay.
Yep.
Oh,
good. Little one's okay. What'd you come on for, brother? Anything you wanted to talk about? We got some new.
No, I just saw that you were still live, so I thought I'd just jump on.
Yeah, we could be.
To say hello, goodbye.
Yeah, hello and goodbye. Yeah, we could do like a Beatles song. Yeah, guys, check out Mr. Grant Gregory also. I've noticed without him sharing on his channel, I don't get as many people, so I must thank you, sir. See, you notice things when you don't show up, so thank you. I see how important you are in my life.
Yeah, I learned that from my father.
Going out to get a pack of smokes and a kangaroo later, guy.
It's weird. He didn't even smoke.
And on that note, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll finish with the Spork members video that Mr. Grant Gregory was nice enough to put together. We'll add and take off some Sporks for next week. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, everybody.
Yay.
In the height of dawn, where
secrets lie,
a tale unfolds beneath the sunlit sky.
Listen to the words, people. It's great.
7 kingdoms tremble with anticipation as whispers of a sea.